Um, Firstly, I just wanted to go around the room, because there's not so many of us, we can just go around the room and say like, why we come to jamming, because I want to know your reasons for coming to jamming so that we can make the talk relevant, because if you guys are coming for a certain reason and this talk is really basic, then there's no point. So if we just start with Devyani, everyone just say your name, you have to say school and stuff, I don't really care. And we just say why you come to the jamming, and then we'll just go like that, just that's all.
My name's Devyani and I come because like association and I think the talks are really good and they're like relevant to our age group and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, and also if you're on the team, you're not allowed to give fake answers like, oh, I come for the food, or I come for some force. Just, this is a really nice answer, just give it an
My name's Pramisha and I've come here because my friends come here and I like the characters in the end and stuff.
I'm Uni. I like the association and the showtime. Yeah. And it's fun. It's cool. And my name's Ronnie and association. My name's Anita and I come here to meet like-minded people.
My name's Milan and I think I just learn more about sports.
My name is Dylan and I came here for the first time, so I'm just checking it out.
My name's Herman. I come from talks, interesting. Just get to know something new.
My name is Craig and I come here to improve my spiritual life.
My name is Milin. I guess it will help me think of Krishna more, so that's why I'll come.
My name's Ravi and I come to learn more about Krishna consciousness.
My name's Krishna. I just come here for my friends and that's really much it. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Dhruva and I came to hear you speak.
I'm Arjun. I come here because I don't really know much about anything, you know. I don't know much about anything in the world, so just come here to learn about stuff.
My name's Richard. I've come here to learn about Krishna consciousness.
My name's Akash, I'm a dancer. You're going to finish that one. Why did you come to jamming? And you're not allowed to say for the food.
It's my way of, at least the one time in the week where I can like sort of reconnect with Krishna.
Great, thank you.
My name's Smiley and I come to meet new people and learn new things.
Akash?
Yeah, my name's Akash. I come here for the association and also go deeper in Krishna consciousness.
My name's Krishan. I come to jamming because I really like jamming.
That's true.
Yeah.
My name's Rada and I come here just because I like the vibe. I like the vibes.
That was the real answer now.
Because I'm also MC, so I have to come.
I'm Vinay. I come to jamming because I'm inspired by all the young people back to Krishna consciousness.
I'm Gina. I come to
All the seniors are really bad answers. Pressure.
I love jamming, so I come and I like to hang around with younger girls and improve my Krishna consciousness.
Good answer. So I think a lot of you guys said that you like the association. So maybe we'll talk a bit more about association today. Wasn't planning to, but we can just, I think it seems like a key thing that everyone's coming because of the people wanting to improve their spiritual life, right? That makes sense? So we'll talk a bit about that. So, two things I wanted to do for this session. One was talk about, like, you know how we last, I think 2-3 weeks ago, we did the goal setting session, where we like came up with our New Year's resolutions and stuff. So I wanted to see how that's going, if everyone's kind of alright with their goals. And talk about something that we think that we don't do enough of in our life. Everyone has that like inner desire, like I know I definitely have something that I really want to do more of. And someone reminded me that 3 years ago I wrote a letter and that guy got hold of that letter by accident And in that letter it said what I needed to do. And then 3 years later, so last week on the trip, I told him, oh, I really need to do this more. And then he said, oh yeah, you told me that 3 years ago, you still haven't done it. And that thing's been in my heart for 3 years, and I just haven't been able to do it. I haven't had the motivation, inspiration to do it. And I don't want like everyone here to go through that experience where there's something that we really want to do at the core of our heart, something we know we should improve on, but we just keep procrastinating it, putting it to the side, but actually someday we get the inspiration to do it. So that was one thing we wanted to get out. The second thing I just wanted to talk about, difference between love and lust. I think most of you probably know the difference anyways, because you probably know more on this subject than me anyways. But we'll just discuss it for formality. And then, actually, if you had any questions, I think questions are the best way to really associate with people, because often there's things on our mind that we don't really understand, and the more we don't understand them, the more they become like doubts, and doubts fester in the mind. Doubts are like compared to?
Demons.
Demons. And how do you kill doubts?
Swords.
Oh?
Knowledge.
Perfect. A star. So the idea is that when you have doubts, when you have questions, and we don't get them asked, and we don't get them answered, they'll just sit in our head for a long time, and then that will actually stop us from growing in spiritual life. I mean, they'll stop you growing in anything. Like, if you have doubts in maths, you can't really get past the first chapter if your fundamentals aren't straight. So the idea of the paper and the pen is, anytime you feel like you have a question, write it down. If it's a question related to this talk, not related to this talk, anything, any question to do with Christian consciousness, please write it down, and then myself or Vinay, we can just answer the questions, we can go through it like that. Is that right? So first I wanted to show a video. Who's our video man? Laptop person. It's quite an interesting video. I found it quite interesting when I was watching it at work today. When I was doing work. So while I'm talking for the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to explain a few things. But I'd like you to keep in your head the things that you want to do more of. So just keep that in your head, keep that thought in your head. And I'm going to try and categorize, there's some few ways you can categorize life. We haven't got flip chart, right? No, in fact, can you be a human flip chart?
We got paper.
Paper. Yeah, can you bring it? Actually, no, just come actually, it'll be more fun like this.
Really, yeah?
Yeah. And then we need another volunteer, but someone smaller than him. Yes, everyone. Arjun? Okay, cool. And one more person. Anyone? Anyone? Come. Okay. Okay, so what I need you guys to do is to make circles out of your arms.
Our own circle or circle altogether?
Oh, each, circle each. Okay, and you have to be the biggest circle, and you have to be smaller circles, and you all need to kind of be in the same area. So if you both go that way, good. Yes, like a Venn diagram. Yeah. All of you together. Yeah, good. Great. Yeah, and you're not intersecting like a Venn diagram. You're 3 separate circles. Okay, so does everyone know what a Venn diagram is? Anyone not know what a Venn diagram is? Huh? Okay, so the idea of those 3 circles is like they're like a Venn diagram. And life is like the square and the outside of the Venn diagram, you know the outside, which is like the sum total of everything. And then within a Venn diagram there's many different circles. Some of them intersect, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. And life is like that. So each of those circles represents something in our life. So for example, when we're young, like at our age, Radha's circle, which is the biggest circle, may represent our studies. Because that's a big part of our day, 9 to 4, we go to school and then we come back and revise. And then smaller circles may represent different things, like million circle may represent the amount of time we should spend on Facebook, but in real life, Radha's circle actually represents how much time we spend on Facebook. And then origin circle may be the amount of time we should spend on spiritual stuff. So life is like many, many different circles, and it's a constant dynamic balance between those circles moving sizes. You just start changing sizes. Not that really good. Thank you for being a very diagram, that was enough. So the idea is that life is like many different circles. So we have our education, we have our friendships, we have our social life, we have everything. And none of that's not important. Like, some people think that, oh, when you come to Christian consciousness, you're not allowed to have fun, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. That's not the point of Christian consciousness. The point of Christian consciousness is to be balanced. Everything requires balance, because when there's balance, there can be proper enjoyment. Like, if you're on a bicycle and you're unbalanced, you can't really do much. You just look like a retard. It's like, you know, it's like, if you're just not balanced, you keep falling over, what are you going to do? You can't do much. And in life like that, often we're not very unbalanced. Like, spend too much time on Facebook, spend too much time combing out afro, spend too... I started because of the deco. So it's just, you know, it's just like too unbalanced. And the problem with unbalanced, we can't be effective because then our like life becomes out of balance, everything kind of goes a bit haywire. And the reason why these people on the video were saying, oh, I really need to call my family more, or I want to help people more, is because they've got imbalance in their life. They're feeling the need to do something. They wouldn't need to do something if they were doing it to the right proportion, right? And what's the difference between a need and a want? Because we all want to do stuff, like they were saying, oh, I want to do something, I want to do something. But it sounded like when they were speaking, they felt like a bit more than just like a whim. It felt like, oh, if I really did this, then I feel a lot more satisfied. So that's the difference. A want is something like, oh, I feel like cheesecake today. And a need is like, I have to eat to live. Did you get the difference? A want is like, oh, you can replace it with anything. But a need is so substantial, so deep that if you miss out on your needs, then you won't be fulfilled and you won't be happy. So you need to find what we need in our life. Like, so the guy who was saying, oh, I lived in downtown all my life, or something, he said something like that. He was like, oh, I really feel the need to stay in this area to help people. And if he helps people, he'll feel happy. So that was, he identified a need within his life. And Sachin Nandan Maharaj, he gives this model where there's 3 primary needs in our life. And he gives this model of a tree. Everyone obviously seen trees all over the place. So a tree has 3 primary distinctions. The first one is the roots. The roots are what keep the trees grounded to the grounded and connected and strong. So the roots of the trees are kind of considered our spiritual practices. They keep us nourished, they keep us alive, they keep us good spirits, they keep us grounded, they stop us becoming arrogant, they stop us from going off into the clouds. They give us a lot of balance and equanimity in mind, right? Like spiritual practices do that. Then the second part of the tree is the trunk. And the trunk is compared to emotional and physical health. So if your mind is out of sync, you can't really do anything, right? Like, if I have an argument with my best friend, then all I can think about is that argument with my best friend. If I've got a test tomorrow, I'm not even thinking about my argument. If I've got anything tomorrow, nothing's in my mind apart from that, oh crap, you know, I messed up with this guy and I don't know what to do. You know, if your mind's out of sync, then it's very difficult to focus. So the trunk represents the mind, but also represents the health. Like, if I have a broken leg, I can't really run a marathon. So if I don't focus, if I don't take care of my health and take care of my body, then I can't really do much in my life. And again, but the whole point of this tree model is that everything is required in balance and in proportion. And the final part of the tree is the crown, or the fruit-giving part of the tree. And that fruit-giving part of the tree is compared to what we give back to society, or what we give to other people. And I think everyone in this room probably has some experience of helping someone else. And when we help someone else, isn't there like a feeling of happiness? Naturally, like I think a lot of you are on the Harajami team, and why are you on the Harajami team? I don't think you're on the Harajami team because Radha inspires you, like, I don't know, it's not that I don't think there's it. So that was really bad. I was trying to think of a reason why you wouldn't be on the Harajami team. But I think primarily we kind of be on the Harajami team, or we do service, or we do anything like, you know, to help others, because one thing, we get satisfaction in helping someone else, and 2, it also helps us grow and helps us develop. So when we give to others, when we give ourselves to others, we fulfill a very deep need of wanting to give ourselves. And that's very, very important. So in the video, you can easily identify each of those person's needs, or each of those person's, like, what should I do more in life, based on the roots, trunk, and the crown. Okay, so let's just recap. Kala? What's the root represent? Someone help her out?
Spirituality.
Spirituality. So like that's like coming to events like this, talking about Krishna consciousness, chanting, meditating, reading books, stuff like that. Okay, Akash. What does the trunk represent?
I know the roots, but I don't know.
It always happens like that.
Oh yeah, personal well-being.
Personal well-being, so emotional and physical well-being. Thank you. Spot on answer, man. very good. And Radha, what does the crown represent?
Helping others.
Helping others. So now that you've got your paper and pens, I want you to take 2 or 3 minutes out and write in each of those areas, roots, trunk and crown, what thing you really think you need to do to improve and to like address a need in your life that you're missing out on. Like, you may be very balanced in your roots, very good in your trunk, but you're not helping anyone, you're not helping society, so you feel bad. Or you may be doing lots and lots for society, but you're not really feeling nourished yourself. So take 2 or 3 minutes out, just think about it quietly, and write one thing for each. I'm not going to ask you it, I might, but at least write one thing for each. I think everyone can come up with one thing. Maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah?
Eat less chocolate.
That's a good one. Anyone else?
Mine's eat more chocolate. Mine's sort my health.
What does that mean?
To sort out my my physical well-being, which is my knee. I can just be easier to walk.
Yeah, that's good. Anyone want to share the crown? Everyone wrote something for the crown? Anyone want to share? Huh?
Defeat socialism.
Defeat socialism. Sounds fun. Anyone else? Chris?
Mine was to serve in the right consciousness.
What does that mean?
You're doing something to make sure that you're doing it for the reasons to do something in knowledge rather than do something ritualistically.
Okay, that's really nice. I think consciousness would come at the roots.
Okay. I'll write that down. Thank you.
Anyone else want to share? I'm going to pick one people now. Leela, what did you write for crown? If you can share. Thank you, that's really nice. Very nice. So hopefully there's 3 things you can actually walk away from this session and think, okay, I actually want to try it now. I've got all these friends here at jamming, you know, I can team up with one of my mates at jamming and we can check each other, okay, am I doing this, am I not doing this, am I doing this, am I not doing this? And then if it's too hard to work on all 3 at the same time, try 1 a week. You know, we've got 2 weeks till the next jamming, you can try and accomplish 2 in 2 weeks. And then you can see next January, okay, you can review it. Is this working for me? Is this not working for me? Because really, all the things that you said, I think will make a lot of difference and be very powerful for your lives. And I 100% am convinced that balance is very, very important in life. Sometimes we're just very unbalanced and either we're lazy or we're too fired up or we're random. There's no balance. I'm just, over the last 6 months, a year, I just understand that balance is really, really important. If we can balance a mindset, if we're not too too drastic in our life, when there's too much drama, when we're too drastic, then everything just goes out of haywire, everything becomes emotional, and we can't really push forward, but only with a balanced mind can you really push forward. So, yeah, if you're going to take anything out of this, the rest of this talk, I think this is probably the most important thing, is that have a go at these 3 things, see what they are for you. Feel free to check them with someone. You know, you can check them with the jamming team, you can check them with the older devotees here like Vinay, Gina, Krishna, Kishan. Check it. Okay, is this the right motive? Am I doing it for the right reasons? What do you think I should do? Do you think I should improve on anything else? They can really help you out. So that's really important. Now, on to that was the introduction. When do we have to finish?
Whenever you want.
Okay, I'll finish in 5 minutes. So I wanted to talk about what is Krishna consciousness. Can anyone here define what Krishna consciousness is? Okay, we come to jamming, and just to break all the boundaries, jamming people are run by Hare Krishnas. Hare Krishnas believe in Krishna consciousness. Krishna is God, Prabhupada is the master, and the Bhagavad Gita is our scripture. So if there's any doubts with any of those 3 things, feel free to question it. But just to put all our cards on the table, we're not hiding anything. We love Krishna. Radharani is even better than Krishna. On the altar is Gauri Nitai. Maybe Radha Vinod and Abhishek can explain it later. But can anyone define Krishna consciousness? Anyone who's been coming jamming for a long time? Kishan?
go back to the spiritual world.
Thank you.
Your constant awareness of God, who is Krishna.
Excellent answer, excellent. Anyone else want to give an answer? Molly?
Understand our relationship with Krishna.
Great, great. I really like these. Anyone else?
I think doing your duty, but for Krishna.
Brilliant, brilliant. Anyone else? Krishna Gina, senior jamming devotees.
To try and constantly remember Krishna and
Yeah, really good answers. All of them are really good answers. Thank you for sharing. So just to clarify, I didn't have a definition myself. I wasn't going to say anything sparkling. I was just wondering what you guys were thinking. And you all gave different answers, but along the same theme. And I think the connecting theme was being conscious of Krishna. Krishna consciousness means to be conscious of Krishna. I think it's like quite understandable, quite simple, you know. It says exactly what it says on the tin. And so who is Krishna? The definition of Krishna is that one who is all attractive. And what are we attracted by in this world? We're attracted by various things. But ultimately, the deepest root is one word. And the deepest thing that we connect to, the deepest thing that we want in our life, it comes down to one word. And I don't know how I want to explain it now. Yeah, there was one, a couple of weeks ago, we went to Bangladesh for a trip. And someone asked Sachinandan Swami, what is the goal of life? And this guy went on like a long question. He thought it was like super deep, and he was asking this long question like, oh, you know, I've been walking the path of life, and I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about this question that, you know, thousands and thousands of years people have been asking this question, what is the goal of life? And Sachinandan Maharaj, as soon as the question stopped, he just said, love. And he didn't say anything else. And everyone in the crowd was like, oh my God. He just said it with such authority, such power, such conviction that the goal of life is love. And that's what Krishna consciousness comes down to, love. The deepest rooted need, so we talked about needs, we talked about the trunk, we need to eat, we need to do physical exercise, we talked about emotional side of it, we need to express our thoughts to our friends, we need to have friends, we need to do stuff for society. But the deepest need comes down to love. Every living being wants to, Vinay, can you complete the sentence? Thank you. Perfect. Every living being needs to love and be loved. That is the deepest essence of our makeup. Not our makeup. And so, on that point, that's what Valentine's Day is truly. I mean, Valentine's Day is an expression of love in a different sense. But as spiritual seekers, we can understand Valentine's Day to be something much deeper. And Valentine's Day, whatever this whole chance, is just a chance for us to think more deeply about love and what really is love. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, everything is an opportunity to grow. You know, anything that bad happens to us, any birthday, any occasion, even bank holidays, whatever the world gives us is an opportunity to grow. And so if we can see this as an opportunity to connect more with that love, then we'll be happier. I think everyone here understands that love is important. Anyone disagree? Anyone disagree? So everyone agrees that love is a big goal in our life. And so we need to understand what that love is, where we are right now, and how do we get to that love. That makes sense? So, Dhruv Kushbu, could you show the next video? Thank you. Sorry to make you do it. He's our president, so video. I want you to keep what she said in the back of your head, as we'll revisit it in a bit. But there are lots of things she said that are actually very impressive and very deep, but we'll go through them in a bit. Just trying to re-emphasize how important love is in our life. And one thing I want to make clear from the outset, when we talk about love in Krishna consciousness, we don't necessarily mean love between a man and a woman. We mean love in every relationship, like any relationship with a mother, child, friends, brotherhood, like bros, bromance, everything, not just man and woman. It's very narrow-minded view of looking at love. So let's just take that out, and now let's carry on with the rest of the talk. One thing I wanted to get at is, what do you guys think is the difference between lust and love? So, would everyone agree that lust and love are opposites? Anyone disagree with that concept? Disagree?
They might not necessarily be opposites, but
They might not
so what do I know?
You know a lot. That's a good point. They might not be. Okay, for now, let's assume that the results of them or the kind of understanding behind them is opposite, like kind of diametrically opposite right now. In that understanding, what would you explain lust to be like? So can anyone like just throw out some words?
Is it like for selfish gain?
Selfish gain, great.
Yeah, you're performing an act so that you can gain something out of it. So
Okay.
the fruits are yours.
Great, I like that. Anyone else?
It's impermanent.
Impermanent, really good answer. Anyone else?
I was going to say temporary.
Temporary.
Same.
Great. Mali?
It's purely thinking about yourself and not anyone else.
Okay. Yeah, true. Sure. Yeah.
I'd say it's more like just a whim thing. It's not a long-term thing. Just
Mhm.
you know, the whim I can just do this and just get over it.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? And can you now describe love?
It's like so it's like unbounded by your personal feelings. It's like giving more, and you gain pleasure from actually giving rather than receiving. Like more pleasure from giving.
Anyone else?
It's a verb.
Love is a verb. Can you explain that?
The verb's a doing word.
Okay.
It's not just a feeling, it's an action.
Great, thanks.
It tends to be unconditional.
Really good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Came to the session yesterday. Anyone else? Love and lust. Any other thoughts? So we all consider love to be important in our life. First premise. Second thing is, if love is important in our life, and love is, we have love for things, and we have love for people, and so everything is, we have an emotional connection to everything. Yesterday when we did the talk, I haven't got my phone on me, but I was with my phone and I just dropped my phone on the floor, and I just said, okay, the phone has fallen on the floor, and thankfully it didn't break, but I have an emotional connection to it. I thought, oh, why did I drop it? That's so stupid. You know, and there was some hurt. It was like, oh, my phone's broken, I'm going to lose all this £500 or whatever. There was some emotional connection. But then I said, if I got Kishan, who's my best friend, and if I threw him off a building, what's the difference? Would I feel the same? Oh, £500 are gone. Okay, replacement screen. No, you can't. You know, it's a different, it's a totally different ballgame. So the love that we have with people and the love we have with things is very different. And
it's like immeasurable. Love is immeasurable.
Love is immeasurable. Brilliant, brilliant answer. So if we want to have happy life, if we want to have happiness, if we want to have joy, if we want to have fulfillment and contentment, we need to try and have love in our relationships, in every single relationship. So how many people here think they have love as the center of all their relationships? Can anyone put their hand up and say that? Someone yesterday did. I don't know. She was that powerful. Anyone? So what, are all our relationships based on lust? No. So what are they based on? Depends on the person. So give me an example of someone. Okay, and now I also want to clarify lust. So lust is also not just a thing between man and woman. It's not a sexual thing per se. Lust is very broad and very deep. Lust is essentially, the definition of lust is a desire, a selfish desire, having a desire that's not connected to the Supreme or to the Lord. So in that case, like wanting to have 6 cheesecakes, you could be lusty for that because you have the desire. I just want to enjoy it for me. It's like a very needy and pleasurable thing for myself. So in that context, give me an example of like a relationship that you have more love in and a relationship you have more lust in.
My relationship with my mom is something that's called love.
Yeah.
In a loving way. Like my relationship with, and I have certain people at college. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I want your homework, so I'm going to do your homework.
Yeah, really true, really true. And do you get the same satisfaction out of a relationship in your college, with your friends, as a relationship with your mom? Completely not, right? Anyone else? Anyone else feel like that? Hands up if you feel like that. You have those relationships. So the idea of Krishna consciousness is to transform those relationships of lust into relationships of love. Your question? Go on.
So in some situations, like for example in like corporate world, where you sort of have to be mean to some people, how would you come across? How would you handle that situation if you're supposed to love everyone? yet you're supposed to earn money and get ahead in your career and stuff?
Really good question. So, love, as Vinay said, is a verb, and it's not a noun or a pronoun or a subject, well, I don't know. But the idea behind that point he's making, and another point, is that love is also dynamic, in the sense that, let me give you an example, like, do you think it's important to respect people? And it's important to respect everyone, but you don't respect everyone in the same way. Like, you don't respect your father in the same way you respect a lion. Like, you may go hug your father if he's not annoyed at you, but you're not going to go hug a lion, right? Doesn't mean you don't disrespect the lion. It just means you have a different level of, you have a different style of respecting that lion. Same way, respect shown to an ant is to not step on the ant. But if you showed the same respect to Radha, you avoided him, you didn't step on him, that's not really respect, right? So in the same way, love is expressed in different ways to different people. And love, in that case, will be a more underlying consciousness of you're doing what you're doing for the right reasons in order to help the situation, help people, rather than control and be bossy. So even in the corporate world, you don't have to be controlling, demeaning, rude and bossy. People who are actually like that often get fired. And you can see it at workplace because everyone's realizing that people culture is very important. You have to be a people player, you have to be a team player. And people that are arrogant, no one likes them, so they get fired. They really do. That's how it works. So when it comes to that situation, and you think that you can't have a loving interaction, you just need to understand what a loving interaction is in that circumstance. It may not be that you go hug the person, oh, I've done my report for you, my deadline's over. Like, it's not like that. I don't hug anyone at work. But, you know, like, it may be something different. You're like, oh, thank you so much. You know, it's just a kind word or a smile or, you know, business handshake or whatever it is. But you still, the principle, underlying principle is love. It's just expressed differently. That makes sense? We can talk about it later. Hopefully we can talk about it later. So the idea is that we want to move from these relationships of lust to relationships of love, right? And how do we do that? And what are the consequences of being in lusty relationships? Can anyone describe me any consequences of, you know, my friendship is like, my friendship with Krishna is, you know, it's good that he makes me breakfast and I'm happy when he gives me water, but when he doesn't reply to my text, I hate him. Or like whatever, you know, that's like a very greedy relationship, a very lusty relationship, in the sense that I'm not doing anything for him, I'm just wanting to take. So what would be a consequence of having a lusty relationship?
There's no actual real satisfaction from this. It's like
Great.
very like temporary. So in the moment that they've done something to you, like they say, for example, like they've given me the homework, I've given in a really good homework to my teacher, there's some satisfaction there. But later on, I don't really care about the person. It's like, oh great, I've done the homework, it's been there, done that, done.
Great. Totally.
A loss of balance, like it can be quite unsettling.
Go on.
It doesn't really help you to like grow as a person necessarily.
Because
it's temporary. Like it's not going to help you in like relating to the tree, for example. It's not going to help you in all those aspects of like helping the tree.
Yeah, very true. Anyone else?
Yeah. Like a rise in distress, because when they can't give no more, you don't take anymore. You start becoming distressed, annoyed, so on and so forth. So
Rise in distress, I like that. I came up with two things that I thought from kind of what things I've read. Is that one thing, lust is very blinding. Like when you're under the influence of lust, you're blind to what's going on. There was this one man called Silana Mishra, and what he was an adult. He came from a very priestly family, so he was meant to be very saintly. But actually, because he was very lusty, and this was in a man-woman sense, he used to go to a prostitute very often. And he would go to this person and he would enjoy himself as much as he could. And he became addicted to this person and addicted to this particular type of enjoyment. So as he was getting addicted to it, when he was like 23, 24, his father died. And after his father died, he was the good Hindu, so he did all the ashes, thanks for the water, Kish. That wasn't a sly comment for it. So he did the ashes, he did the ceremony, and on the day of the ceremony, he was so addicted to enjoying with this person, he thought, I'm just going to leave the ceremony, I'm going to go to her right now, I have to go to her. And you can imagine all the family are thinking, what are you doing, you idiot? Your father's just dead. You want to go to this person. How dare you? Have you got no self-control? And he's like, no, I have to go. And it's like there's thunderstorms happening, and her house is like across the bank of a river. So he like somehow gets onto something, slides across the river, floats across the river, then finds a rope, and he grabs the rope and climbs up to her house and goes to her and says, I'm here. Let's do what we need to do. Like, I've had enough, I need to do it. And she goes to him, you're an idiot. This is the day of your father. She, the prostitute, is telling him, the priest, what's going on. This is the day of your father's death. You come across a river. You didn't even know what you were looking at. You didn't look at what you were floating on. You were actually floating on the body of a dead crocodile. You thought it would be a log, but it was a dead crocodile. Then you came up this rope. It wasn't even a rope, it was actually a snake. So you've gone through so much trial and tribulation just to come here. If you had focused your energy, your effort, your power on something higher, something better, you would have been much better off. And so she's telling him this. And he, hearing this from a prostitute, thinks, oh my God, this person is telling me this, maybe I should focus on something. So then he leaves the situation, he thinks, okay, I'm going to go focus on Krishna. I think I really need to focus on God, get into my relationship with God. So he goes wandering around, and he's like really getting into his relationship with God. And he then goes to one person's house, and he goes to the house, and what saints do, they go to people's houses and have dinner, and kind of, the idea is the people in the house give the saints dinner, and the saints give the people blessings and advice and life help. And what he did, he saw this couple, and he said to the husband, I want you to leave the house, and I just want to spend one night with your wife. And the husband's thinking, oh my God, how can I do this? It's like, but then the saint's telling me to do it, so it must be right, what do I do? Everyone's confused. So the husband leaves, and the man is the saint. He's in the room with this person's wife. And as he's thinking about what he wants to do, so for so many years, he hasn't acted wrongly. And finally, he's come to this point where he's cracked and he wants to act wrongly. And as he's acting wrongly, he just remembers the words of the prostitute in his head. How dare you do this? How dare you do this? And he said, I'm driven so blind by my lust that I must take my eyes out. So he gets the hairpin of that woman and plucks his eyes out. And then he says, now no more can this lust blind me. And he was making the point that lust is so powerful that even him with such good upbringing, great intelligence, he fell down to lust and he got enamored by petty attractions. And the moral of the story is, don't take your eyes out. That's not the point. But the moral of the story is what's behind the eyes that are making us look in that way. And that's our desires. And lust is blinding to the true desires of our heart. What it is that material enjoyment makes one very irresponsible and insensitive. I don't know if anyone's ever drunk before. And if you have, fine, don't worry, I've drunk, whatever. And if you've drunk before, you'll notice that when you drink, you become very irresponsible. You see people dancing on tables and doing whatever. And you become insensitive. You just start saying anything and everything. Like, you see movies, and all the true conversations come out when they're drunk, and they're like, hey buddy, and you become very responsible, very insensitive. But spiritual pleasure, so everything in the spiritual world is diametrically opposite. So when you engage in spiritual pleasure, you become very sensitive and very responsible. And then you can actually progress in life. Does that make sense? Can you imagine being very responsible and very sensitive in all situations? You wouldn't hurt anyone's feelings. You would know how to act properly in every situation, right? So that's one example of how lust is very blinding. Another example also, that's lust in a very gross sense, like a very physical and not so nice sense. But lust also pervades in a different sense. It pervades through our mind. Lust is one time when Jesus was coming to Nazareth? Jerusalem. Jesus was coming to Jerusalem, and Jesus, back in the day, they used to get transport by donkeys instead of kind of like bikes and buses and trains and whatnot. So he was riding on his donkey, and as Jesus being a big celebrity in the town, he was coming into the city, and everyone was throwing flowers at him. Everyone was showering flowers at him, fanning him, saying, Jesus, you're amazing, you're amazing. And the donkey was sitting there, looking at all these flowers coming on Jesus, but he thought, oh wow, everyone's understood that I'm amazing. I finally gave all the credit that I deserve. they've realized, they've actually understood that I'm the best donkey around, you know what I mean? So he was also blinded. So this slave was blinded by a lust in a certain way, and this donkey was blinded by the lust of pride, or the lust of adoration, or the lust of fame. So lust is very, very all-pervasive, and it doesn't just relate to a gross level, it relates to a subtle level. And when there is this lust in our relationships, what happens to our relationships? We discussed it. They become kind of unsubstantial, they become needy, they become not fulfilling, right? I mean, I think everyone's agreeing with this point, right? So, okay. So there are, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he talks about 3 steps of how a sadhaka, as in us, someone who's just trying to practice spiritual life, goes between being in lust and being in love. So the first step is to control the senses. This is a very, very basic sense, to not act on lusty feelings. You know when we have a lusty feeling like the saint, and the second time he didn't act on it, he did well. Whatever he had to, he plucked his eyes out, which is a bit dramatic, but at least he didn't act on it. So the first step is just trying to control that. And that happens relatively quickly. Once you come to Krishna consciousness, you can generally come and control your senses, like, okay, I find I won't have the 6th Timothy pie, or okay, I won't, whatever. You can fill in your own examples. And the second step, which is the the final step is pure love. The first step is just trying to control the lust. And the bit in between is controlling the lust in the mind, or combating the mind. And that can only happen by focusing the mind on something higher. You know when we anyone ever seen anyone try to give up smoking? And when you give up smoking, you have to replace that feeling of smoking with something else, like they have to wear a nicotine patch, because they're so used to that rush that if you take that away immediately, they just can't handle it. They don't know what's going on, I just can't stop. So they need to replace it with something higher, some feeling that's higher. So this middle stage, the stage where most of us are at, is that's combating Krishna, combating the lust in our mind. And that thing that's higher is focusing on Krishna. Because Krishna is the source of pure love, and the material world here is pretty much a source of pure lust. And so the more and more we connect with that world, the more and more we connect with Krishna, the more and more we purify our mind, purify our lust, and then we can focus on Krishna, and we can be more loving. So that's kind of like the 3-stage process Krishna gives. And there's a really nice verse, and I think it's really relevant to Valentine's Day. Vinay can correct me if I'm wrong. It's, I don't know if I should say it. I'll say it. It goes, Yuvatinam Yavata Yuni, Yunam Cha Yavatu Yataha, Manovinati Tadvan, Manovinam Tantavi. And this verse is in the Vishnu Puran, and it's a sage speaking to Krishna. And the sage is saying, what is the most powerful attraction in this material world? You know, what's the strongest binding force? You know, when you see a romantic film, what's the strongest? Like the strongest force is that between a girlfriend and a boyfriend, a paramour and a paramour, or husband and a paramour, whatever it is. It's a very strong force. So this sage is saying, just as the minds of the young boys are attracted to the young girls, and the minds of the young girls are attracted to the young boys, allow my mind in the same way to be attracted to you, Krishna. Because he's trying to take that depth, that intensity of that thought that we have to lusty feelings and trying to apply that to Krishna. And if we can learn to do that on a moment-by-moment basis, we will see rapidly that our consciousness changes, our thought process changes, our desires change. And because if our desires change, then our results will also change. And our results will be more in relationship with pure love. So that's my connection to Valentine's Day. Question, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, so, you said we should assume that love and lust are opposites. So, I was just thinking, lust would basically mean that, you have a very strong desire to acquire something. Like, just anything. Like, say I want a Lamborghini, so I lust after that Lamborghini. And then, say you love something, like maybe you love the idea of learning something new. So, but, if you lust after knowledge, you're not exactly hating it, so how is it opposite? I mean, one way you kind of love the idea of knowledge, and then you're acquiring knowledge, and you're lusting after knowledge. So they're not necessarily opposite. I guess one could be the result of another, and it's kind of like a cycle.
Yeah.
Possibly vicious, but I don't know.
Did you want to say that?
Yeah, like in terms of Krishna consciousness, or like if you want to go deep into like spirituality, like because we live in sort of a material world or materialistic universe, these things will always exist. We have to transfer we have to offer those things to God. So like I was reading somewhere, I don't know who was saying it, but they would say, just the same process where you said that lust between a boy and a girl, I want to give that to God. It's like you have to transfer that lust to something higher, which is God. Like, even though it's seen as negative, but when you give it to a higher being, it's like or like a spiritual plane, it purifies.
But if it's the opposite of love, you couldn't possibly.
It's the definition you're asking, basically. Yeah, so I agree with your point about when you say lust is you lust after something, and there's a great intensity. There's also a great intensity with love. So in that sense, they're not diametrically opposite in every regard. But I think the underlying principle of them are opposite. If you see what I mean, like the underlying principle of lust in our definition is it's for me, and the underlying principle of love in our definition is for someone else. Is that right? So if we take that as our definition, then it's fine, right? Then you can still have a love for the yeah, it's just definition, it's just semantics. So, yeah.
I would say in terms of knowledge, like your love for knowledge could be like in terms of like a love for knowledge could be something that you want to acquire so that you can give it to someone. Whereas lust for knowledge is so that you acquire something yourself, and it's only for your personal gain that you're acquiring that knowledge. So it's still a lust in that.
No, but you're manipulating the definitions there. I'm just trying to take the most straightforward definition. But
yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So we talked about how to combat this lust, and because we were talking, a lot of people said association is the reason why we come here. So I wanted to quickly talk about what does association really mean? Like, why do we come to spiritual association, and what effect does association have on us? I think everyone can understand that association is very powerful for our consciousness. If I spend a lot of time with the geeks at school, I'll probably get a really good grade because they're going to be talking about maths all day, and then maths will be in my head, and then maths will be in my head when I go home, and maths will be in my head when I wake up, and then maths in my head when I shower, and then there's always maths in my head, and eventually some maths will go in and I'll write a good exam. If I hang out with the people that don't go to lessons, are really dumb, and don't do any work, then I'm likely to kind of move in that direction, right? So association is very powerful like that. But the people we associate with on the outside have an effect on us on the inside. And in the same way, when you come to a spiritual group like here, and you associate with people here, your desires become more spiritually orientated. So it is very important to have this association regularly, because without this association, it's very easy to lose track of what we're looking for in life. And sometimes we think, especially like when we're a bit more experienced, we've been to like 50 jammings, we've heard all the talks, okay, well, how hard can gardening be? You know, just Google it, it'll be fine. So they all went away, they kind of put their seeds into their pots, and they started growing it, and started growing it, and started growing it. And there was one guy, I think his name is Jimmy, we'll call him Jimmy. So Jimmy saw that his plant is not growing, and he was thinking, oh my god, what do I do? Like, he was telling his mom, have I done it right? Have I overwatered it? Did I give it alcohol? Did I do something silly? Like, what did I do? And so Jimmy's thinking, I don't know what to do. And he's seeing all his friends coming in with like these big exotic plants, and like plants that are up to the ceiling, plants that are beautiful colours, plants that are giving off fruits. And he's thinking, oh no, I'm definitely going to lose. And he's like 9 months in, 10 months in, 11 months in. And the 12th month he thought, I'm not even going to go to the boss, you know, I don't think, like, it's just too embarrassing. Like, can you imagine, 39 of your friends have got wicked plants and you've got an empty pot of mud. So Jimmy's thinking, no, I can't do it, I just can't. But his mum says, no, go anyways, go anyways, you know, go anyways. So he went, and they all lined up all their plants, and the boss came to each of them, and he said, so he was thinking, he was inspecting each plant really meticulously, like, which one am I going to give my inheritance, my massive company to, who am I going to give it to? So he works up in looking at the plant, like red leaves, blue leaves, okay, beautiful fruits, apples, this, that, the other. And he went and he came to Jimmy's, and Jimmy's just like, oh crap. Yeah, I gave it to my sister anyway. So Jimmy's like upset. And then the boss goes, I like you. You got the job. And everyone thinking, what the hell, man? I had a wicked plant. Jimmy didn't even do anything. Like, look at his plant, it's rubbish. And the boss said, at the end of the day, he said, actually, I gave you all boiled seeds. So if you boil a seed, it's dead and it can't do anything. And he gave every one of them a boiled seed, and all of them had cheated and found another plant in the shop and planted it just so they would get ahead. And Jimmy was the only one who was honest and sincere. And because he planted that honesty and sincerity, he got a good result. So in the same way, when we plant the right seeds in our day-to-day life, if we plant the right seeds of trying to connect with Krishna, if we plant the right seeds of, in every situation, let me help someone, let me do something positive, then what's going to happen to us in the future? We're going to get something positive back. So I think that's a really simple message to take away. We've got our 3 things that we want to work on. Feel free to share them with a friend. I think it's very powerful when you can share it with a friend. Let's embarrass this person.
It's rather cute, mine.
Radha, can you please come home on time? Yeah. I was going to say that way worse. So yeah, we've got our 3 things, and if you can, before you leave tonight, share it with a friend, come up with very specific ways how you're going to achieve it, and then you can really get on it and maybe they can check you on it. And just understand that if you try these 3 things, if you do these, plant these right seeds, 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time, 1 month time, 6 months time, 1 year time, you'll get the right results. So that's all I have to say. If anyone has any questions, this will be a great time to ask them if Radha allows.
I have a question. How do you maintain respect, not respect, but love for someone who seems to always want to take from you but not give something back in a relationship?
That's a very good question. Because I don't even watch Friends. So I watch all the episodes. And remember that episode with Joey, and he's, I think it's Monica's and Chandler's wedding, and he's writing a letter for them, and love is all about giving and receiving. Giving. You remember that episode? I don't know that one. So love is all about giving and receiving. There's 6 processes to love, and 3 of them involve giving and 3 of them involve receiving. So if someone's not giving back to you, and you're just giving, how can you love that person, right? That's really hard, isn't it? Because then it's not love, it's like they're just eating at you, they're just taking from you, there's no reciprocation, it doesn't feel like there's love. So it's very hard. It's very hard to love someone in that situation. But every situation is a situation for our growth. And if in that situation, you can give love to that person despite them not giving back to you, that's actually selfless. Because often we can give love to someone, but we actually inherently expect love back. So I can give something to Kishan, I can give him a gift, but I actually expect him tomorrow that he's going to do something good for me. So there's a slight amount of selfishness in that act. But if I'm giving to Kishan and he's not ever giving back to me, and I know he's not going to give back to me, but I'm giving to him because I feel it's the right thing to do and it's the loving thing to do, then that's actually true selflessness. And we have like a mentorship system where we older people take care of younger people in spirituality and teach them about the path. And we asked the question, exactly this question, what do you do when a mentee doesn't ever kind of reciprocate? It just doesn't listen, doesn't do anything, I'm giving my time, giving my advice, doesn't listen. And the guy said, this amazing answer, he said, care or love is like a circle. It's just like karma. If I give love out, even if I give my love to Kishan and Kishan doesn't give it back to me, it doesn't matter because I will get it from somewhere else because I'm planting the right seeds. So despite, no matter what that other person does, you know that if you're planting the right seeds, you're going to get it from somewhere. And then you can probably, I guarantee you can see it in your life that when you give love to someone, they don't give it back. You're actually getting something amazing from somewhere else. I've 100% felt that, and I'm sure you can feel that. And actually, that makes us also more grateful that, okay, I actually have an opportunity to serve someone else in a selfless way, and then by doing that, I'm 100% going to get something from somewhere else because it's like a circle. It's the law of karma. If you didn't get something from somewhere else, then the law of karma wouldn't work. So understand that, okay, this person may not give it back to me in the exact way I want it, but if I can give it to them, if I can be selfless, if I can be loving, then I'm 100% going to get it back from somewhere else. And Krishna will take care of me because Krishna knows what I'm doing. That makes sense? Is that right? Anyone else?
Yeah, just building on from that. So in the last verse of the Shikshastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, is the last or second last, I can't remember exactly. It says something like, even if you trample on me, I'll still love you, something like this. So So we can assume that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's love for Krishna is the most supreme possible love. Yeah, I guess. So like that means he knows everything about Krishna. We can assume because like if you love somebody, you learn everything about them, and so on. So then that means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knows Krishna won't treat him as such. But then if he already knows, then there's no risk of not receiving the love back. So then how is it selfless if he already knows it's not going to be selfless?
Yes.
Like purely, like it's not going to be only one way. Like he already knows it's not going to be one way.
He knows Krishna's going to reciprocate.
Sorry?
He knows Krishna's going to reciprocate.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I asked this question. Were you there when I asked this question to someone? I wish I remember the answer. Yeah, it's a good question. And the understanding is that it's very difficult to understand that level of love from our point of view, and it's not a logical thing. And I said, I had the same point as you. I thought, yeah, it's easy to say statements like that because I know Krishna is there for me. You know, like Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita, Ananta Chintayanta Mami. You know, like he says that, I'm going to be there for you when you fall, I'm going to be there for you, I'm praying to you. But the point is, there's actually a very, very deep understanding of, I don't care of the results, Krishna, I'm totally yours. And that's when there's that love is like, that love is expressed without the desire for anything in return. That's a totally selfless love. And that's actually a love we probably can't understand at on a logical level. And it'll be very difficult to understand that statement. And actually, to understand that statement, you have to go through the other 7 verses of Shishashtakam. And we're still on verse 1. Like we're still learning how to chant properly. So if we go through each verse, you can see there's a very logical progression of love. And as we practice each verse, we'll deeper attain levels of love, and then we can come to really understanding what that means. But right now, with our clouded vision, with our kind of mind, it's very difficult to understand that. Sorry, I don't really have a good answer for that. Anyone else? Anything? Okay. Thank you, Sean.
I was just thinking about how like sometimes you want to express love for someone or like look up to them on a level, but like your natures are quite different. So you can't really relate to them, or they can't relate to you on a level. And then find that common ground. What is there a way to surpass common ground so that you can like
It's a good question. Yeah, if you've got nothing to talk to him about, what do you do? Like, it's just awkward, isn't it? I think we find that a lot. I find that a lot. I don't know if you talk about people. I don't know. What it is, I think it's like, so that's quite a material level we're looking at it. Like, oh, I have nothing to talk to him about, or he's a D, I'm an I, or whatever, like something like that. It's very like, very superficial level. But actually, if we connect on a deeper level, so we connect on the unity of the soul, if we connect on Krishna, when you put Krishna in the relationship in between anything, there's a commonality. And you can just talk about Krishna, or there's there's things we can do that are much more, like you can do service together, you talk about Krishna. There's a lot of things you can do when you put something higher in between you two. Then it's not you two clashing, it's you two helping each other to do that for that higher purpose, whatever that is. So I may clash with Vinay, I may clash with Kishan, but if we're both doing service together, our clashing kind of gets minimized and we kind of focus more on, okay, we really do this service because Kanchan's going to murk us. Whatever. Like, a higher purpose in between. It could be a friend, it could be a mentor, it could be Krishna, whatever. I like to be Krishna right now. Sorry guys. But whatever it is, if there's a higher purpose, then you'll find it easy to relate to people. And if you relate on those 6 levels of that verse in NY, you look at number 4, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Is lust with Krishna bad? For example, if you're praying to Krishna, you're doing everything that's good with Krishna, but you expect something back. For example, like if you want good test results or something, you go to Krishna, do everything, you pray to him, and you expect good results. Is that bad? Because it's lust for Krishna, technically.
That's a really good question. So is lust for Krishna bad? If I pray to him for material expectation, is that a bad thing? So we have to understand that everyone's at different levels, and Krishna or the holy name is like a Chintamani jewel. So whatever you ask the jewel, technically it does give it to you. So you do get that in some way, shape or form. But it's kind of like, I could either give you £1 or I could give you £10 billion. What do you prefer? I could either give you diamonds or I could give you broken pieces of glass. And the understanding is that when we ask for material things, we're compromising, we're giving up the diamonds of spiritual life, of an eternal life of bliss, happiness, freshness, connection with Krishna, for broken pieces of glass. And when we put that in context of our life, at one point, where we are right now, maybe broken pieces of glass looks amazing, and that's all we want. And if that's all we want, fine, that's all we want. But when we understand Krishna consciousness more, we understand that there's actually diamonds to be had. And then, you know, only a fool, when they understand what a diamond is, will give up a diamond for broken pieces of glass. You know, when you pray to Krishna for a material thing, and you really understand what the diamonds are, you won't want broken pieces of glass. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, if we're at a stage right now where we need the broken pieces of glass, we really want that, fine, that's where we're at right now. And the most important thing is you don't stop praying to Krishna. Like, stopping that is the worst thing. Because even by praying to Krishna for broken pieces of glass, we'll be purified. But if we can ideally try and understand what the diamonds are, you won't want broken pieces of glass. Do you know what I mean? Anyone else? Kishan?
My question is about like general spiritual practice. So how can we stay fixed in our spiritual practice, even though we may not necessarily see the direct effects of it?
That's a very good question. How can we remain fixed in our spiritual practice, you know, even see the direct effects of it? Few things is, one is that, are we doing the practice properly? That's why we're not seeing a result. You know, like a lot of people say, Krishna consciousness is like a scientific process. If you apply yourself, you'll get results. And it's very true. And we may see it in others. I think I can definitely see it in others, in my close friend circle, who are applying the process properly and are seeing results. And I can see their results clearly. So then I know, in that sense, through knowledge and observation, that there is something in here. You know, like, we step on with faith. Faith means that whatever I do, there will be, like, I'm convinced that in what action I'm doing, there will be success. So you have to endeavor with some faith, and once you endeavor with, if you endow faith into your spiritual practice, it will give it nourishment and enlivenment that it will have the results eventually, but we have to keep plugging that faith with knowledge, with association, with realization, so that we have enough faith to carry on, even when it does feel dry. Like, often they give like, the graph of spiritual life is like this, it's like, one day I love Krishna, the next day, oh, who is Krishna? Like, you know, one day I chant 20 rounds, you know, it's like this. But the idea is, if we can make our spiritual life, even though there will be ups and downs, if we can make our spiritual life a graph like this, as opposed to being a graph like this, then we're always on an upward trend. And when we go upward, even when we fall, like, go on our lows, we're still a bit better than we were before. And then that experience, that love we're experiencing, that taste, will carry on, make us enthusiastic to practice the next day. And I think knowledge is very important for that. So like kind of reading the books that Srila Prabhupada has given, because that gives us faith that what we're doing is the right thing. Maybe my misapplication is leading to me not getting results, but what I'm doing 100% is the right thing. I just need to focus a bit more. Okay, I'm finding it tough, but I'm just going to give it my best. And if we have that knowledge, have that faith, then we can push forward. And for me, the most important thing, I mean, maybe controversial, but I think the most important thing for faith is association with devotees. They really, really do give you faith. Like, if you associate with people who are kind of a bit further in the spiritual path than you, then you'll get that conviction to do it the next day, you carry on the next day. So very important for association and reading books. I think that will give you a lot of faith. Is that right? Thank you. Anyone else? Sorry for boring you to death. Drew, any comments? Vinay, you want to share anything? Okay, I think that's it. Valentine's Day, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.